Hi, this is Mike from the PlumbingSupply.com. Today we're going to tackle a toilet that is wobbling. As you can see, the problem is the toilet is shifted and it is now wobbling. And so we're going to take it apart and see why it is shifted and try to retighten the bolts and make sure everything is functioning correctly. The first thing we're going to do is to turn off the water. Now we're going to remove the tank lid and be very careful. These are very expensive to replace. And we're going to place it in a safe place. Now we're going to flush the toilet and get all the water out. And since the water's off, there should be no more water entering in. Okay, now we've got the water out of the tank, and if you don't have a shop vac handy, you can always use towels and put towels in and soak up the water. Now we're going to put a bucket in underneath the back so we can take the supply line off, and there's going to be water in supply line, so we're going to put it into the bucket. Okay, now we're going to take the tank off of the bowl, and you use a screwdriver to get into the old top of the bolt, and then use a crescent wrench and get underneath on the bolt. And we're going to unscrew it and take the bolt off. Now we're going to do the other side. Okay, now we're just going to take the tank off so we can get to the bowl. Just pull up and off. Now that the tank is off, we're going to take off the bolt caps and unscrew the bolts from the bowl to the floor flange. Okay, we're going to take the water out of the bowl now. If you don't have a shop vac, then you just have to use towels, or you can just pick the bowl up and lean it towards you, and hopefully none of the water leaks out the back. Alright, we're ready to lift up the toilet now. You're just going to lift it straight up, because everything's been removed now. And remove it. Okay, now we're going to clean off the wax ring that's on the top of the toilet flange. Okay, now we pulled off all the wax and stuff. We can see what the problem is here. The flange is set below the floor. The bottom of the flange should be set on top of the floor, not below the floor. So what we're going to have to do is get some extensions and raise this flange up. Otherwise, the way it is now, when the toilet flushes, some of the water is actually going back down around, and in this case it's a slab floor, but it's going back around it down in between the slab, and it's creating some problem where even some critters can come up, little spiders or some other stuff. So we're going to fix that. Okay, we're going to try and get these bolts off. We've come across a problem where these the bolts are pretty rusted on there, so we're having a hard time getting them off. So we're going to just take a little hacksaw and cut them off. It's going to be faster. Okay, now that we have the original bolts out of the original flange, we're going to have to build this space up here to get this flange to be even with this floor. Now, so we don't want to mess with the original flange since it is in place and it's not going anywhere. It's solid. So we're going to leave that alone. So we're going to add spacers to get the right height, and then we're going to put this other flange on top of the spacer so we can get the wax ring on there, and it will seal everything just right. And the bolts will actually go all the way through from here all the way up through the spacer and then into this flange, and it'll be like having a new flange head for the toilet to sit on. Alright, now we're going to put the bolts into the flange. So these particular bolts they're longer than normal. They're 3.5 inch long, and we're using what they call a Tinnerman washer. And the reason is, what is this going to do? We're going to tighten it against the flange so it'll keep them in place, but later when we ever have to take them apart again, it won't be such a hassle. Okay, now we got the bolts in place. Now we're ready to put the gasket in place. And this gasket is to seal anything that might come up between the spacer and the original flange. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is put on the spacer. Okay, now you can see that the spacer is now even with the floor. If you push this down, it's very even with it. And that's critical because we don't want any leaks, anything coming up when we put the final flange on it. Now that the spacer's in place, we're going to put the next gasket in between this and the top flange. And again, this is going to seal any water that might try to come back up. It will keep it from coming back up and force it to come up and out through here, because you want to know when there's a leak. You don't want the leak just going down inside underneath your house where you don't know about it. But if the water's coming up through here, the wax ring is only going to seal air. The wax ring is not to seal water. So if everything's working correctly and the toilet's flowing through it, it's working fine. If it backs up, then the wax ring will allow the water to come out, and you'll know you have a problem. Okay, we're now ready to put the wax ring on. Now we always want to put the wax ring on the bowl and then set the bowl down on the flange. So in this case, you can see some of the old wax is still there. It doesn't matter because the wax is wax and it's just going to fold in there. We're going to take the wax out of the packaging. And place it around the horn. Okay, as you can see, we pushed the wax all against so it's really snug and tight, and now we're going to lift the bowl and put it on to the flange, and it will compress and seal it just right. And again, remember, the wax ring is only sealing air. It's not designed to seal water. If water's coming out from underneath the bowl, there's a problem. Okay, we're now ready to put the bowl right onto the flange. Alright, now we're just going to squish it down to seal around the flange. Okay, we're now ready to put on the closet bolts onto the toilet. First we're going to put down the ring that holds the cap in place. I'm going to make sure it's going the right way so that the bolt cover will snap on, and it'll snaps on in place and you can't pull it off without prying it off. Now we're going to put the washer on, and then we're going to put on the nut and tighten it down. Okay, now that both of the bolts are tightened hand tight with the nut on both sides. We're going to tighten them with a wrench, but what we're going to do is tighten a couple of turns on one side, and we'll go to the other side and tighten a couple of turns. That way you go back and forth so you get an even pressure, so one's not over tightening and over pounding the other side. See, that way you keep from breaking your bowl. Might seem like I've done more than two, but I've just done 2 turns. I'm going to go to the other side now, do 2 turns. Okay, now you can see, after we've tightened the bolts down, there's no rock in this forward, backward, sideways. It's a one solid fit, and it should give them years of service. Alright, as you can see, the bolt is too long for the cap to fit on there correctly. So we're going to have to cut the bolt a little bit and get the right size. In this case, we're going to use the tiny hacksaw again because it works so wonderful, and cut it off. The nice thing is, when you're using brass bolts, these hacksaws cut through very quickly, especially if you have a sharp blade. Okay, ready to put the cap on. All you do is have to snap it on. And then we'll just clean up a little bit so it doesn't look so bad, because some of the wax is around there still. We'll do a better cleaning job when we're all finished. You can see it's all put back together now. It's not rocking forward, sideways. The tank is snug and tight. Flushes and refills and no leaking. Hi, this is Mike Palmer from PlumbingSupply.com. We hope you enjoyed this video, and thank you for watching.